He is the most professional assassin in the world. He is capable of preemptively sniping a moving target from 3,800 meters away. Highly intelligent, he can evade capture even when the entire city is on high alert. He can completely disguise himself as another person. He mimics their voice and mannerisms so well that even acquaintances can't recognize him. But for the first time in his life, after completing this mission, he encountered such an unprofessional client. The Jackal is an almost perfect assassin. Virtually no one knows his true identity or background. When he has no missions, he returns to his villa in Cadiz. Here, he lives like an ordinary person with a beautiful wife and an adorable child. They, however, are unaware of his true profession. At this moment, the Jackal silently stares at the red text of the client's reply on the screen. Since the client has already paid the deposit, the Jackal contacts the bank to inquire about the sender's information. Just then, Nuria knocks and enters the room. She notices that her husband seems troubled.
When you go to that place you go and you're thinking about work.
I'm here.
Only half. Tell the other half to come. I miss him.
She approaches the Jackal to try and lift his spirits. The Jackal appreciates his wife's intention. He mentions that he has another big deal coming up. If successful, he will have a lot of time to spend with his family afterward. Nuria just smiles.
The people you work for think that because they pay you a lot of money, they own your soul.
Although she knows nothing of his true identity, she senses a deep-seated anguish in him that he has never expressed. This makes him love her even more. The visitors to the villa are all relatives and friends of his wife. Everyone communicates in Spanish. The Jackal, as the host, feels out of place. He uses the language barrier to keep his distance. As lunch is about to begin, the Jackal receives information from the bank. He immediately excuses himself from the table. The bank's reply can only trace the source of the account that made the payment, which is in Munich, Germany. The politician the Jackal previously assassinated also came from Munich. This suggests that the hit might have been ordered by an acquaintance. During lunch, the Jackal has already packed his bags and is ready to leave. His wife is very unhappy because this is not the first time her husband has suddenly left, but she still decides to drive him to the airport. The Jackal initially refuses, but he can't decline his wife's insistence. The two drive in silence. At the farewell, his wife hopes that her husband will say, "I love you," in Spanish.
Dime en español.
Don't humiliate me.
Pues dímelo en inglés.
I love you.
In reality, she just wants him to stop being so guarded and distant. After witnessing his wife's departure, the Jackal does not enter the airport. Instead, he hails a taxi. He removes his ring and goes to his locker in the city. There, he stores multiple passports and a large amount of euros. Then, the Jackal takes another taxi to the train station. At this moment, Nuria happens to see her husband sitting in the car. She doesn't have time to look carefully, but she recognizes that familiar profile. She can't be mistaken. She calls her husband, but his phone is already turned off. Before long, the Jackal crosses into Germany. He receives a call from Zina Jansoni. The Jackal uses voice-modulating software to alter his voice. Zina Jansoni firmly insists that they must meet within 48 hours. Otherwise, she will find someone else to take the job. The Jackal considers it for a moment and then compromises. With this time constraint, he can't go anywhere else. So he arranges the meeting place in Munich. Zina Jansoni arrives quickly. After sitting in the agreed-upon restaurant for a while, she receives a letter handed to her by a waiter. Zina Jansoni left the hotel and went to the indicated location. The Jackal, waiting outside, quickly follows Zina Jansoni. At this moment, he is already disguised as a bald gentleman. Being in a crowded place, he needs to ensure that the client has come alone. Only after confirming this does he decide to reveal himself. The Jackal sits down next to Zina Jansoni. She states that she is merely representing her boss to discuss the price of hiring the Jackal, hoping to close the deal at $50 million. Although it's not $100 million, $50 million is still an enormous sum. The Jackal would only get 7.5 million euros for assassinating a German chancellor candidate. So, the Jackal agrees to the price proposed by the other party. Right after, the Jackal states his rule: half of the payment as a deposit up front and the remaining balance upon completion. However, Zina Jansoni says she cannot provide half of the deposit, but she can offer a $20 million starting fee. During this meeting, the Jackal's 3 demands are all rejected by the client: pricing, deposit rules, and preparation time. And because he doesn't want to lose this client, he compromises on all of them.
The job has to be completed by the 28th.
I'm not in the habit of being hurried.
UDC releases River on the 28th. It's non-negotiable. Can you do it?
Once the payment is in my bank account, I will get to work.
Finally, Zina Jansoni asks him why he is still in Munich. She even suspects that the Jackal encountered trouble on his last job. Zina Jansoni is worried that this will affect their cooperation. The Jackal, however, does not answer her. After parting ways with Zina Jansson, the Jackal goes to a local bank in Munich. 2 weeks ago, the deposit for his last job was transferred to his account here. The bank provides the Jackal with the transferor's information, which is the name of a company. The Jackal immediately returns to the safe house and goes online to investigate the origin of this company. He finds that there is a parent company behind this company, registered in the Netherlands. So he opens the Dutch website and finds yet another parent company behind this company. After several repeated investigations, the Jackal decides to change his approach. On a website that reports illegal corporate behavior, he searches for the reported records of that parent company. The company was dissolved 20 years ago, but the good news is that personnel information is still retained. The Jackal locks onto the name of a director and, through this director, finds another German company he currently manages. On this company's official website, the Jackal finds photos they published from an annual meeting. In these photos, he sees the son of the politician he assassinated. At that time, to lure out the target, the Jackal infiltrated the politician's company and injured his son, forcing the politician to go out to the hospital to visit. If the person who anonymously hired the assassin to kill the politician was the politician's son, then it makes sense that he refused to pay the final installment and cursed. The Jackal begins his new plan. He arrived at a funeral home that specifically serves the wealthy, disguised as a frail and sickly German man. Leaning on a cane and feigning leg pain, he aroused the sympathy of the funeral home manager. He presented himself as a lonely aristocrat who lived only with his mother, and after her death, had to drag his weak body to handle her affairs. The manager of the funeral home sympathized with his experience and decided to recommend some professional counselors to solve his problem. At this moment, the Jackal suddenly interrupted the other party. He mentioned that he wasn't feeling well and intended to go to his car to get some medicine. Seeing the Jackal's physical condition, the manager offered to fetch the medicine from the car for him if it was convenient. After the manager walked away, the Jackal quickly went to the manager's computer and installed remote operation software. By the time the manager returned, the Jackal had completed the infiltration. Back at the safe house, the Jackal began remote access, connecting to the funeral home manager's computer. It turned out that this funeral home was the one hosting the funeral for the previously assassinated German chancellor candidate. Through the manager's computer intranet, the Jackal reviewed the funeral arrangements for the politician. He found the driver specifically responsible for picking up and dropping off the politician's son. The Jackal noted down his name and license plate number. With this task completed, the Jackal called his wife. After receiving the call, Nuria immediately told the Jackal that she had seen him in a taxi. The Jackal denied it outright, but his wife and mother-in-law suspected he was having an affair. The Jackal had no choice but to comply with his wife's request to open a video call, showing her the hotel where he was staying. His wife checked the bathroom and, seeing no signs of any other woman, had to temporarily drop her suspicions. However, the conflict between them was not resolved. She had long grown tired of the doubt and the feeling of being shut out and distanced by her husband. In the past, he had only hidden his whereabouts from Nuria, but now there was deception between them, which was not the kind of marriage she wanted. The Jackal was unable to reassure his wife and could only accelerate the progress of his work. The next morning, he left with a bomb he had already prepared. The Jackal found the driver who worked for the politician's son and, at gunpoint, forced him to lie down in the trunk of the car. The politician's son arrived at his father's funeral. His father's former head of security, now working for him, was treated like a servant. Limping into the scene, he wanted the guests to see his strong demeanor without needing a cane. He cared deeply about his image, much like his father. Just before the politician was assassinated, he had arranged for his secretary to send flowers to his wife, aiming to project an image of being rational and positive rather than deeply affectionate. At the politician's funeral, the first person his son greeted was his mother, who showed no concern for his leg injury.
Danke, Mutter, fürs Fragen. Wegen meiner Genesung. Ich wurde angeschossen. Zweimal.
Es geht nicht immer nur um dich, Elias.
After his mother left, his sister approached him, mentioning that her lawyer would contact his lawyer. As the eldest son and a company executive, he controlled a vast amount of wealth on behalf of his father. She seemed to suspect that he was involved in their father's death. As everyone set off for the cemetery, the politician's son got into the car prepared for him, the same car where the Jackal was waiting. A bodyguard sat in the passenger seat, but no one recognized the driver.
Wie geht's dem Bein?
Wer sind Sie?
Sie wissen, wer ich bin.
The politician's son struggled in the back seat and could only call the bodyguard for help.
Verfolge ihn! Müller! Sie bleiben!
The Jackal continuously weaved through the streets, quickly losing the car behind him, and then drove to a secluded area without surveillance.
Wer sind Sie?
You know who I am.
I'm sorry.
But it's not about the money. Nice.
The Jackal swiftly changed clothes, planted the bomb, and left the crime scene. He used a key to open the iron gate in front of him. All of this was part of his premeditated plan. Before this, Zina Jansson had hinted that he should not create additional complications, as the $20 million deposit had already been received. After this mission, the Jackal could live the life he desired, yet he still had to return to the most dangerous place to settle the score from his previous job. As his wife had told him, some people think that by paying him a lot of money, they can buy his soul as well. In the end, the Jackal was only human, but unfortunately, his wife no longer trusted him. Not long ago, Nuria entered her husband's study. She opened the Jackal's drawer, only to find the entire desk drawer empty, which deepened her suspicions. So she went to her husband's walk-in closet and searched around. By accident, she stepped on a hidden mechanism on the floor. Beneath that section of the floor was a safe with a password lock. Nuria called her mother and brother to help figure it out. The three of them searched through various documents left from when the Jackal renovated the villa. Sure enough, Nuria discovered that in the villa's blueprints, there was a hidden room behind her husband's study. If one didn't know about the hidden room, they would only see a full-length mirror. Pushing the mirror forcefully would trigger the mechanism, revealing a large safe door behind it. At this point, Nuria's brother brought an electric drill and drilled open the safe door. Stepping into the Jackal's secret room, they finally discovered the unknown side of the Jackal. Meanwhile, as the Jackal was escaping Munich, his phone received a security alert. Opening the remote camera, he saw his 3 family members inside the secret room.